you can always click to make it jump to the next line. Anyway, video games. Hello, everybody. So, you may or probably already know, my name is Hope Chapman, and this is Lovely Little Thieves, the game we're kickstarting. So, our special guest, Zach, has never played the game before, so he's going to be doing this completely blind. Don't give him hints or anything if you want, like, certain things to happen. Just let him make his own decisions. That's what the game is all about, so...
Why did you bill me as a special guest when I'm the obvious person who's
You're
going...
the most special guest ever.
Oh,
You're
I
really
love you
special. I love you. Anyway, so yeah, I see Jonah Scott, the voice of Russell, is in the chat with us. Everybody say hi to Jonah. Hi, Jonah.
Okay, so usually I skip single player and go to a multiplayer, but I mean, there's multiplayer in this.
No.
Like, you have, like, capture the flag and team deathmatch.
No,
like, that's in here, right?
It's just choices. It's like a choose your own adventure book.
Well, that doesn't sound like a game.
It doesn't, does it? It's very special, though.
This sounds like something for filthy casuals.
This sounds like something for weird nerds and babies is what this sounds like. So, anyway, so we're just gonna dive right in, I guess, and start playing the game, and I will talk, I guess, about the process of making the game, what we've gone through, and then start taking questions from the chat. And I wish that some of our artists could be here with us today, but they're all British, so maybe not all of them. I think pretty much they're all in the UK. And so, time zone-wise, it's a little weird for them, and I did ask them, but they were like, I don't think I can make it, and you know. Oh, Ken Clayton, also, who is making the music for Lovely Little Thieves, one of two composers who will be making the music, is in the chat. Say hello to him. Hi. If you are also working on this game and in the chat, let me know, because I may have missed you. But, yeah.
Alright.
Here we go. Also, if the sound levels are okay, let us know if, like, anything is too loud or too strange sounding in a way that's not good. You know, you understand? Alright, so we start in what is my least favorite aspect of the game. Not to diss it per se, but something that I didn't really want to do but knew that I had to when the whole story was laid out, which is that we start with amnesia, which, you know, the hackiest thing to ever hack is the amnesia thing. But this is a special kind of amnesia, in that Dawn doesn't have complete amnesia. She does remember some things. She just has this weird feeling of being disconnected from her actual personality, and the idea being that you will recreate her personality for her. And it's not purely a game mechanic thing. There is a very specific in-story reason for this, but spoilers, so I can't say why this is happening. I can say that the big demon you see throughout the game is definitely responsible, and I hope I was able to bring that across concretely, but it's very much a supernatural cause. It's not coincidence or anything like that. Anyway, so she's sort of hanging out here in the void.
You should get someone to voice this who does a really good Ed Wynn voice. The theme's warmer above me. I just need to get away from this horrible thrum.
I love the leggings. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the creation of Dawn. So Dawn was always going to be, like, at the very base, for how she was described when we were designing her, the quote-unquote sweet little virgin girl that survives a horror movie at the end. And past that, I didn't have a whole lot in mind for her face or her hair or eyes. I knew that I wanted her theme color to be gold. She's themed around the color gold, and that she would have a big sweater that she could kind of you know, there's a little bit of peek of her skin there, and the hearts that she's wearing are also important. Both hearts are important for 2 different reasons. And I wanted her to be able to have this huge sweater that she's, you know, kind of receding into. Like, she's small and hidden, and, you know, she's a little timid girl in a big sweater, which were in the style at the time. Not for the whole decade, but for a specific part of the 80s, so we can include it. Anyway, so Dawn is having a very bad dream. People have speculated that the red eyes there look like frog eyes. And all I can tell you is that that fella there is not a frog. Like, he's not an amphibian. I don't think he would approve of that comparison. But, you know. Alright, so now here we have Russell. And Russell was kind of meant to be the jock character from the beginning, and he's undergone the least physical transformation from early designs. Like, when I was designing the characters with Michelle, there was a lot of back and forth. There were people that changed a lot. Russell, just from the get-go, I was like, okay, he's gonna have like a flat top. I said a little bit spiky up. Like, Russell's whole thing is, his whole design is upward movement. So I wanted him to have short sleeves, high shoulders, broad shoulders, up-facing hair, capri kind of pants that come up, high socks. Just everything seems to be moving in an upward direction. His fists come up very often. His arms are actually shorter than... Proportionally, his arms are a little cartoony. They're a little shorter than actual human arms are supposed to be. Because it was all just to keep him in that very, like, hot red up sort of, like, you know, that sounds really dirty. You know what I meant. Like, red, like, alert kind of look. And, yeah. Also, because, I don't think that a whole lot of people have figured this out yet. When she says Yuri, the reason that she says we go to Yuri, and she can't really figure out what that's supposed to mean, she's referring to URI, the University of Rhode Island, which is a real university. I didn't put the real emblem on Russell's jacket for trademarking purposes, but we changed the emblem from an R and an I that interlock that way to the exact same color scheme, the exact same lettering, but it's an R and a U. So, yeah, they're from Rhode Island. That is actually an important detail that we couldn't change for a dumb reason that you're gonna find out at the end of the story. But, anyway. I don't think there's any Yuri University, no. Alright, so this is Randy. Oh, Randy. So, Randy, obviously the stoner character. His voice, has kind of been cast, maybe, but I can't say who it is yet. But I will say that, Randy is, maybe one of the nearer and dearer characters to my heart. I love all the characters equally, but Randy was one of the easiest to write because a lot of him is based on both people that I knew and then aspects of my own personality that are, I don't know, that are just really easy to fall back on. I intentionally made him like, he's not the funny character, he's the guy who tries to be funny in the group, so the jokes he makes aren't actually funny, and that is intentional, and totally not just an excuse because I'm trying to avoid, like, making how obvious it is that I can't write funny jokes all the time, but, like, he makes dad jokes rather than being, like, actually outrageous or whatever. And I'm hoping, like, different people maybe find different things funny in the game, but, like, if you enjoy, like, bad puns and jokes that are funny because they're painfully unfunny, then that's what Randy is here for. I wanted to give Randy, like, I wanted to give all the characters a different body type because I wanted all of the silhouettes to be completely different. Like, if you just saw them in shadow, which comes up a lot, you would know who was who. Just based on the silhouette. And Randy is the big fella. He's box-shaped, he's tall, and he's sort of bodyguard-like, but he doesn't really have the stamina to be a bodyguard because he just sort of sits around and smokes and drinks all day. So Randy's a bum, is what I'm saying. But he's a bum with depth. He's a bum with layers. So you know, and obviously Russell has the classical attractive muscular physique, the triangle on top and then straight shoot muscular legs, thick calves, that kind of thing. He's you know, I don't want to say he's the most common body type for like an Otome game thing, because that's actually Jay, because usually in Otome games the male love interests are like sort of wispy, bishonen-y, and Russell is way too muscly for that, but he is the classical, like, you know, posters and stuff like that girls have up of like real guys that exist and not anime guys. They're you know, they usually have like the jockey muscular kind of thing going on. Jay is the like flat butt indie boy kind of look that or bishonen, you know. Although I think bishonen usually they give him like weirdly upsetting round butts, but you know what I mean. Anyway, there's something for everybody. So now we have Colin. Colin is a shrimp, and Colin originally started out as the least defined character. I didn't really know who he was supposed to be. I just knew, okay, we have 5 characters, and this is supposed to be the. In most horror movies, there's like a shitty little brother character, like maybe he's smart and he has like asthma or something, or maybe he's just quiet and wanders. Colin's definitely not quiet, but you know the character. Usually they're quiet and they wander around the house and they find the murderer first, but they survive till the end. There's always that the kid character, the one who you're supposed to be most worried for. And Colin didn't end up that way, but he started out maybe that way, and I didn't really know what to do with him. I just knew I wanted to combine that nerdy little brother archetype with the stereotypical Shota from an Otome game. And I didn't want it to be like Shota, like underage. So for people wondering Colin's age is, he's 17. He's a senior in high school. So he's just on the cusp of being sort of Shota-ish, but it's not like gross. He's 17 years old and he's about to go to college, so he's not that. But he's very small. He's very self-conscious about how small he is. So he's kind of a jerk. But he's intentionally kind of a jerk. And hopefully that works for some people. Colin is largely based on my memories of adolescence and my internal monologue for a lot of my adolescence, I guess. He doesn't have the same kind of fascinations or preoccupations or worries that I had at that age, but his way of expressing himself is pretty close to how I expressed myself when I got angry, and then also just how I felt about a lot of things. A lot of his immaturity and frustration, you know, kind of comes from an old place. So Danielle here. Danielle is, on the surface, she started out, like, before delving into deeper design, Danielle started out as the slut archetype in a horror movie. There's obviously no equivalent for her in an Otome game except a non-dateable, like, best friend character. But she's dateable in this game. And, but she's not in any way slutty, like, at all. That's not her personality. Randy is the slutty character. Danielle is just looks like the, the Thickest Thieves thing is intentional. There will be, actually, now this is a path thing, so depending on which path Zach goes down, there's another reference to Thieves, and these are all hints, so, you know, in fact, I think there's been other hints in this car scene as to what the actual plot is. Maybe they won't make sense until the whole story's done, I don't know, but they're there. I like watching and reading things where creators are mischievous and stick tiny hints into stuff early on, so I tried to do that myself, and hopefully it turns out okay. But yeah, Danielle is not a slutty character. She's not shallow, she's extremely intelligent, and she has high ambitions, but, you know, she has her flaws. Those flaws probably won't come out until we get deeper into the mansion, but for now, she's sort of purposely one of the most, like, cool, likable, supportive best friend characters, you know? Like, and I think that I maybe slanted it more that way because I was trying to think, well, if I was in Dawn's position, who would I be more comfortable with? and I would be more comfortable with a girl in that situation than I would be all the boys. Because if it's a bunch of boys that I barely know, like even counting, okay, you've been dating a guy for a month and it's your first boyfriend, you probably don't know him all that well, so it's like, well, if I had like his best friend from childhood versus all these boys that I barely know, I'd probably be much more comfortable with her. So right up front, Danielle is the most comfortable character to talk to, and everybody else, it's like Dawn is a little uneasy around them, so, you know, hopefully that comes through okay. They are not driving the super van. They are a decade too late for the super van. This van's actually too small to be the super van. It's a little crampy. There's a trick of perspective going on here with the back and forth, the camera. Obviously, normally the seat that Dawn is sitting in, she would be able to see. Like when she turns her head toward Jay, she would see the seat blocking his head. And that's taken out just for subjective perspective because, you know, it's like a wide-angle lens thing going on. So there's a weird compression in the seat where Colin seems much bigger than he actually is, and the seat itself seems smaller, and it's a wide-angle lens effect. And it was really impressively pulled off by the artist who drew all this cool stuff, Deiji. Deiji Nuku drew this whole car scene, all the variable expressions, all the different layers, the whole thing, and I gave her like reference pictures for the inside of a car using like the panorama effect on the iPhone. I just panned it back and forth and got a decent panorama of a car, and I was like, here, I hope this helps you. And yeah. Oh, so now we're having a awkward conversation about what we're gonna do when we get to the hotel and have this many group of people. And when you get older, it's not really a big deal, but these guys are all kinda at the age where people get weird about guys and girls sharing the same room, and it becomes very uncomfortable for everybody. I remember things being like a huge deal, and like people whispering behind each other's backs about what the sleeping arrangements would be for like groups of friends where half are guys, half are girls, half secretly want to bang the other half, that kind of thing. And it's so dramatic, and now, you know, it's like, it's really not a big deal when you get older, but when you're younger, it's like, oh, this is so dodgy, and, you know, etc. And they're still high schoolers. Well, they're all fresh into college except for Randy, which we'll get to later. But Randy's the oldest, and Colin's the youngest. He's still in high school. But the rest of them are like first year in college, and it's really not, you know. Anyway. Okay, so now we're into the sprites, and these sprites were all drawn by Michelle Henderson. They said the whole car scene you just saw was drawn by Deiji Nuku. We've got several artists on here, and they've all done a fantastic job of keeping everybody like on model and still looking like the same characters. And, oh, people are asking what Colin is playing. Colin's playing a Game & Watch. It looks a little bigger than the Game & Watch actually was. It was really quite tiny because of the forced perspective, but that's supposed to be a Game & Watch. Specifically, he was playing Fire, which is the one where you bounce little people out of the burning building. So, yeah.
Yeah, the PC version of that is called Bouncing Babies. Little babies fall out of the window, and you use a little firefighter to move them to the...
Yeah. So it's just like, yeah. Okay. So what about Jay? Okay, I hadn't talked much about Jay yet. Jay intended to be new kids, mysterious kids, suspicious kid. Like, this is not true of all horror movies, but in some horror movies there's the, like, suspicious loner guy who people get really, like, antsy about. Like, usually he steals the girl if there's a girl at some point, but he doesn't survive the movie. Like, he'll steal the girl from somebody else, and he won't really be the bad guy, but maybe they think he is. None of this has anything to do with what Jay actually is in this game, but the perception you're supposed to have is that he's a weird indie kid, maybe from somewhere far away. He is not British. I wanted to give him that alien, like, okay, he's into Britpunk and he's into stuff that most people maybe haven't heard of, but he's not from the UK. He's from Seattle. He just happens to have a Union Jack shirt, and he likes that shirt, and it means a lot to him, and that'll come up later. Okay, so Colin. Colin's not a nice boy. But yeah, so I mentioned that Russell's entire design is meant to come upward. Like the direction is all forced upward. Jay is the opposite. So Jay has the same, just as Russell has a little bit of blue in his logo is blue, Jay is mostly blue with a little bit of red, meaning the Union Jack specifically. And he also has a flat top, just like Russell, but his flat top is drooping. He has big, heavy curls that droop off the side of it. And I didn't want them to, like, it looks kind of gross if they cover up the shaved parts, so they don't do that, but they droop technically on his head, like they are floppy. And his whole body direction is down. He's got his hands in the pockets, he's got stuff hanging off of him. And his pants are parachute pants, another 80s thing. And they're all being pulled toward the earth. So he's the exact opposite of Russell, but they sort of have something in common, too. They're not that different, really. They're about the same height. They're, one's more muscular than the other, but they're, the same build-ish, and it's a red versus blue. It's a classic red versus blue, the two Otome leads thing. And they, maybe they have more in common than they would actually like to believe, but on the surface, of course, complete opposites. Sorry about the music, guys. Bounces up a little bit. Alright, so Colin is another... So this is a dumb plot device, but it's sort of intentionally a dumb plot device. I remember this being a thing when I was younger, too. People, like kids that are sort of eager to prove something to one another, to themselves, would make dumb bets like this. Like, even into high school, they would make dumb bets over shit that doesn't matter for stakes that are really dumb and awkward. And that's what Colin is doing here. And he thinks this is a really cool, like, I'm gonna show up this dumb girl thing to do. And not just a dumb girl, but he has some interest in her. So this is his way of trying to make a good impression, but also, like, seem like he's superior to her, so he does this bet. And it's, stuff like this is stupid, and it doesn't mean anything. But when you're younger, it seems like maybe it means something. And to Colin, it certainly does. Colin lives inside his own head entirely too much. He has that in common with Jay, I guess. Okay, so here we're seeing the first glimpse of Randy, not a smart boy, but a good guy. And he's intelligent in exactly one way that most other people in the group are not. He's kind of a slacker, and he doesn't have a lot of book smarts, but Randy is an incredible empath. He understands people's feelings, and he understands people's motivations on a very inherent, like, instinctive level. He reads people really well. He's a good people reader. He's a very good therapist. If he wanted to be, he could kind of be Team Mom, but he's too passive to really call a Team Mom. Also, he's big and gross and masculine, so there's that too. But yeah, Randy is a heart. Randy is a hugger, but he's by himself. I think Randy would be a big liability, but he's a good balance for a lot of the Type A personalities in the group. It sounds like the kitty is playing with boxes in the other room, so apologies if you hear some box finagling. Okay, so I may be running out of breath here. I'm trying to talk about as many things as I can. I'm gonna go make sure that the kitty's not fucking anything up. I'll be right back. Kitty is determined to crawl into a 12-pack box of Cherry Coke Zero. The kitty is way too big to fit in such a box, but he wants to so badly. Alright, so the eyes here. I have to really be careful not to say the villain's name every time he comes up. So I'm like, I have to not say his name because it is a spoiler. So the eyes, not a frog, but, yeah, I mean, that's as much as I can say. That's just the thing, I can't say a whole lot about the bad guy. I think all the hints that you get, especially in the dream sequence at the very end, are the most that I can kind of give you, and ghost snake. I'll call it, well, you know, he's not a snake either, so I can't, now you see snakes a lot, but as I tried to emphasize, the snakes have these sort of empty, unthinking, unfeeling eyes, where the demon, there's a personality and there's a life there behind those. And the snakes, when we get to those, do not. The snakes are just agents, they just sort of come out of him. But he's not a snake. He's full of snakes. There we go. We'll call him full of snakes. So full of snakes, yeah. Full of snakes is a mystery. Anyway, I've mentioned this before, it's not a spoiler. The eyes are not frog eyes, they are goat eyes, but he's not a goat. But they are goat eyes, and he has something in common with the sacrificial, I guess it's like sort of the demonic sacrificial goat that you see, like, slaughtered in occult rituals and stuff like that. So those are goat eyes that are basically just stolen right out of Catherine. So the eyes were stolen right out of Catherine. They do look a little like Majora's Mask eyes, but it wasn't intentional. That's purely accidental. It's probably just because that game is so close to my heart. It's sort of part of my psyche, but it's you know, it wasn't on purpose. They were taken from Catherine, so. Anyway. So things are slowing down just a little bit here. I may take some questions from the chat if you guys have any. I can do that. Questions about full of snakes. Ah, man, so that's a glitch. This occasionally happens. I have tested this game where the white flash covers the characters. It's supposed to cover the characters and the scene behind them. And most of the time it does for me and many other players, but sometimes it does that. And that'll be a fix for the full version, to make sure that the white flash covers everybody and not just the background. I don't know why it does that. Some of your games it probably covered everybody. Alright, so this is a crappy temporary thing that I drew. It is completely temporary, as I hope I've made clear every time I've talked about it. It's not permanent, it's just meant to get the basic idea across, but it will be replaced by like an actual illustration from an artist in the final version, specifically from Michelle, who does the characters. And, yeah, that is a, that's just a temporary thing that I made. It's a placeholder, there you go. Along with the backgrounds, all the backgrounds are temporary. The full backgrounds will be done by Jack Eves, who does two of the backgrounds that you see later in the game. Alright, so I'm going to take a couple of questions from the chat. Shichiri Beach asks, whose design was created first out of the whole group? Everybody. Everybody was designed at first. I asked Michelle, I approached her and said, hey, would you like to design characters for this game I'm working on? She said yeah, and then I sent her descriptions of everybody, and some of them were more fleshed out than others. Colin became a character in wardrobe. Everybody had a personality except Colin. I just knew he was supposed to be a combination of like the Shota and the nerd kid, but I didn't know how shy he would be, how arrogant would he kind of crossed over more with Jay's personality until I sent in. I had to give her wardrobe descriptions, and I didn't have a wardrobe for Colin. I just knew he was the nerd, and I did not want to tell her sweater vest and khakis. I was like, I could tell her sweater vest and khakis, but that's such a huge cliche. What do I do? And so I thought about what wardrobe, like what clothes from the 80s have I not put into these characters yet? Everybody else is kind of covered. I don't know what Colin is wearing. I barely knew his personality, and I didn't know what he was wearing, so I looked at, like, other stuff from the 80s, and I was like, oh, I remember jam shorts were a thing. Like, that was a thing into the 90s, these big, like, chunky, like, almost look like they could be pulled off. Oh, Jay is being suspicious, I see. Anyway, it almost looked like they could be pulled off in one chunk orange Hawaiian shorts. And I remembered those. I remembered, like, slogan tees kind of started to become a thing back then. And I was like, oh, maybe I should, like, make a slogan tee that's, like, a nerd knockoff of the Wham shirts, the Choose Life shirts. Because those were a thing for a while. Let me make one that just says "Bite Me," because that's an easy, like, non-copyright nerd thing. And then I was like, oh, and bucket hats. Those were a thing. That was like a thing that usually you would wear with your jam shorts. You wear your jam shorts and a bucket hat. And so I put all that on Colin, and I was like, I know who this kid is now. He's a shitty little, like, hyper, wants to be part of the group, wants to be included guy, but like he's really smart and weird and nerdy, and he kind of has a shitty personality because he hasn't been socialized very well, and he's very insecure about who he is, but he's also proud of who he is at the same time, and he doesn't know who he is. And I was like, okay, I've got this. And also, he really likes Devo, and he would be like at a Devo concert. I was like, yeah, I know who Colin is now. And so the wardrobe created the character. Before that, he didn't have a personality. And then when I put those clothes on him, it's like, oh, no, I know who he is. Also, he needs fingerless gloves because he's a nerd. And he needs fingerless gloves. And he loves them. He's very proud of those fingerless gloves. He thinks they make him look like a hacker. He loves them. Anyway. But everybody was designed at the same time as the actual answer to the original question. She sent back 6 designs when I gave her 6 descriptions all at once. Anyway. Where did the name Lovely Little Thieves come from? It came from not having a title for too long. For too long I didn't have a title for the project. I'm really bad at titles. But thieves is a very important theme of the story. I can't say why. I've given a hint before, so just for funsies, I threw out an image, a promotional image that had mysterious words and symbols above the characters' silhouettes. And if anybody deciphered those, you'll have a hint as to what the word thieves has to do with the story at all, because it doesn't appear to have anything to do with it at first. But Lovely Little Thieves is just what Full of Snakes, right, we have a name for him now, Full of Snakes calls the characters once they're in his mansion and he starts talking to them a little more. He calls them Lovely Little Thieves, and that's where the title came from. Will there be any actual thieving? Well, yes and no. There will be literal thieving and also not literal, but yeah. It's complicated. Anyway. Okay, so... Oh, so we're not going to see the snake because of the path that Zach took. We'll see the snake much later, and we'll talk about him later. But, Nuclear Jackal asks, how animated will these characters be? Will it be the exact same as this, or will there be more motions, movements, and expressions? There will be a lot more expressions and poses, but as far as animation, like, changing per line, it's about this. Like, it can't do, like, actual hand-drawn, you know, I can't do anything more complex than this, than them changing poses when they speak and with lines, but there will be added expressions and, like, arm poses and stuff. So let me go ahead and take a look at the Kickstarter and see if anything has changed. Oh yeah, we've gotten a couple more backers actually. So now we're up to, we were at 15.4 something, and now we're at 15.5. So we've actually gained a couple backers since we started streaming. Yay! Read that. Slowly but surely, we ascend the mountain that is Kickstarter. Yeah, we're almost at 420 backers! Randy would be so happy! Okay. Is the rest of the game going to take place in the mansion? Yes, but there's a lot of rooms in the mansion, and there will be more dream sequences that Dawn interacts with. they won't be randomly, they will be more predictable in the next 3 days. They'll be when she goes to sleep. It won't be this random, throughout the day sort of thing. Because now that she's in the mansion, Full of Snakes doesn't really have to pull her there anymore. So he doesn't have to do all that extra work of trying to, like, shuttle her in the right direction. So then she kind of only speaks to him directly when she goes to sleep. But, so you'll see some weird ethereal stuff there, but otherwise, background-wise, you're gonna be in the mansion for the whole game until it ends, basically. And it's a 3-day journey of them being stuck in there with, minimal changes of clothes, gotta find food, people die, what do you do with the bodies, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Oh, people are talking about, well, what's Dawn's sexual orientation? Because there's 2 different genders here. Dawn doesn't have one. That's kind of up to you, really. Like, if you say she's straight, then she's straight. If you say that she's gay, then she's gay. If you say that she's bi, then she's bi. If you know, it's like it's kind of up to your decisions, you know? The game itself is not going to comment on it. She just loves who she loves based on your decisions. It's not going to say, oh, I like guys. It's going to say, I love Jay, or I love Danny, etc. It's, you know. So, it's up to you. Danielle specific, like, all the other characters, are not that flexible. Danielle specifically is gay. She's not, bisexual. She just likes girls. So, and that's going to become more clear as the game goes on. We'll get to the big conversation with Danielle in a bit, but can Dawn romance Full of Snakes? I'm not telling you that. Romance is maybe not the right word, but I'm not gonna say you're wrong. Remember, there's 9 endings, and in some of those endings there might be... She might make a choice that is not... 9 endings is more than there are people to choose from by a long shot. Let me just put it this way. You're on the right track. It's not exactly a sweet dating type thing. Look, Full of Snakes is not a like a nice person. Like, look at him. But, you know, yes, there's gonna be some dark side. There's gonna be some dark side endings you can get. Okay, so we just got through a conversation between Russell and Jay here. Hopefully you can see their contrasting attitudes. Jay really frustrates Russell because he has this air of superiority and secrecy to him. Like, he just knows what the right answer is, but he isn't really going to tell you why, and he just wants to be in control of the situation. He doesn't really need to communicate. He just wants to get things done. Russell is all about communication and openness and honesty and trusting one another, and so he's not okay with this. But his approach to this is not going to help Jay at all, because Jay is such a hard introvert and does not react well to Russell's really poor temper and like, you know, Russell, the slightest little thing will set him off, and he'll cool down pretty quickly, but his first reaction is like, you know, if he's offended, he's gonna tell you he's offended. He's gonna raise his fist. He's gonna get a little angry, and they just can't communicate with each other. But they're not all that different, really. So, you know. All right, so this next choice is the first big branch in the story, where basically the choices change completely into two different big limbs as we come back around to the mansion at the top. So, anyway, let's see what Zach chooses. Colin has run off. You butthead. So here we see the very first glimpses of Daniel's flaws. Also, you may have noticed that we do have some thieving going on here. It's not what the game is named for. It doesn't really have anything to do with the larger scale reason why Full of Snakes calls them thieves at all. But was some thieving happening. Oh, KS has reached 420! Yeah! Enough of that. Alright, so... what are we gonna do? Alright, so we have opted to not race up the hill after them. Let's stay and pack the van. Or pack from the van, I guess. And that means that we will be staying behind with Randy and Jay and not joining Russell and Colin. So if you want to see more Russell and
Jay,
Colin,
I was trying to avoid him.
you can roll it back. You can scroll back and pick it up.
That's alright.
Okay. You really don't like Jay?
I don't like Jay.
You don't like him?
He's the kind of guy I don't get along with. Takes himself too seriously.
Right. Who do you like the best so far, out of curiosity?
Randy.
Yeah. Let's see if you end up with him at the end. You are going to get a hint as to who you are most compatible with at the end of the game. Or the demo. That doesn't mean you got points with Jay, by the way. It just means that you're taking it slow, so you're going to end up with those guys instead of Alpha heading up the hill, Colin and Russell. Anyway, sorry, I gotta catch my breath a little bit. Oh, so you just saw another thing. When they're packing the van, Dawn says it almost looks like we're robbing our own van. That's another... I tried to lace robber and thief imagery throughout the whole thing a little bit, just so it's not... So the people that aren't at this live stream right now and haven't just heard me say, I swear to God the title makes sense later, will initially at least have some bearing. Because, yeah, you're right, the title seems kind of weird for the basic premise right from the start. And, I'm sorry, I'm not good at titles, so, you know, that's what you got. Alright, so, here we have Danielle. Danielle kind of overdoes it on the Valley Girl speak here. Because I was just trying to keep the conversation interesting, and maybe in edits I will pare back a little bit of her Valley Girl speak. I tried to make it sound like things that a girl like her would actually say, but she's so much attitude. Maybe I should pare it back a little bit. We'll see. But I do find it really interesting. People that have 100%ed it, like. It seems like consistently people that have 100%ed it get one person and then they get the other three after that fairly easily while changing choices, and will, for whatever reason, cannot get the last person. And that tells me maybe there's like a 4 or 5 split for compatibility where there's somebody, if you're really like, you have to try your ass off and you still can't get it. I've actually had that in a lot of visual novels happen to me. Where even when I'm actively trying to get a certain character, if it's a really well-branched visual novel, sometimes it's really hard because your inner, like, for choices that you think are insignificant, your inner personality switches you in the other direction of what you have to do to get that character. Sometimes you're just not compatible with people, so, you know. Anyway. Catching my breath. Okay, so I'm going to take some more questions here. So, boop, boop, boop. What was the process like for choosing voice actors? Well, I scouted, so you guys only know who 3 of them are at this point. But what I would do is I would either scout for, I would just send out emails and queries for people that I thought could play the part, and I would just either see if they were interested in and give it to them, or more often I would audition them, and if I liked the audition, I would say, hey, do you want to be in the game? And they would be like, yeah, and that was about it. I can't talk about it in detail because you don't know who most of the people are yet, so... but, you know. Are there any character ideas that were cut? No, it was always going to be 5 people and 1 protagonist. Yeah, I didn't add or subtract any characters, even from the beginning. Like, their traits maybe changed a lot, and my ideas about what the story was even about changed a lot since November of last year when it started, but it always started with those 5 characters and the player character being the virgin sweet girl. Kaylin Evergreen, Full of Snakes is cast, and it's not Steve Bloom, but Full of Snakes is actually cast. It is a person is playing Full of Snakes. So.
It's me doing an Edwin voice.
What you doing, Don? Why don't you come up to my mansion?
We'll have some fun. I sure hope none of you die. Of hepatitis.
God damn it. I actually have not been catching all of Zach's choices, so I don't know who... I'm the one person who would know definitively, like, in order, who he's most compatible with and least. And I haven't been paying attention... I mean, yeah, I have been. I've been paying attention to parts, but I miss, like, in the moment what choices he makes, so I'm gonna be surprised at the end. Let's see if you guys will be as well. Do you think that Western visual novels can be better than Japanese ones? Yeah, I think that any good story can come from anywhere, there's no constrictions on, you know, making these things good. I think that Japan has had a lot more, has had a longer history of producing visual novels, so the standards are generally higher. I don't even know if the standards are higher, but, like, they've put out stuff like Virtue's Last Reward and Phoenix Wright and stuff like that that begins to, like, break the edges. It starts as a visual novel intentionally, and then it breaks the edges of what that is and becomes much bigger. And, you know, starting from that as a beginning, they have already kind of made a lot of the most well-known stuff. And here it's like a baby. It's in its infancy development-wise, and it's a bunch of, like, people like me and other people just sort of, like, flying by the seat of our pants trying to make them. So instead of these big groups of people like Nitra Plus, you know, Nitra Plus is a huge group of people making those things. So, yeah. That was the Boise joke. And some of you get it. And for those of you who don't, that is an inside Twitter joke. For, specifically for, a group of yuck yucks on Twitter that watch bad movies with me and Zach late at night. That is an inside joke for those people. But it makes sense in the context of the game, so if you don't know that it's an inside joke, you'll never know. It'll just go by, and you'll never know. So, anyway. So, we did take the slower Randy and Jay path, which is actually, I'm a little sad about because I think it's the worst written part of the game. I mean, I shouldn't judge myself because I'm the one who wrote it, but I feel like it's the part of the game that I'm the most ashamed of because I don't think it has the, all the other scenes I tried to maintain a momentum, and for this one, just by necessity, these are such chill characters that get along with each other so easily that there's not a whole lot of conflict, so you're just waiting for them to get to the top of the hill. I tried to put conflict in there. I tried to keep forward momentum in the conversations where they all mean something and they go somewhere, but it's not anything compared to if you take the Russell and Colin way up the hill. For those of you who have done it, you know it's much snappier and more conflict driven because Russell and Colin, you just bounce them off of each other, and Danny. Throw all 3 of those at each other, and they bounce off each other very sharply. These guys, they're all just sort of chill. It's just, you know, Jay is quiet, and Randy's a bro, and Danielle is not really... She doesn't get mean or anything if you don't make her mean. And she gets along with these guys fine. And it's like, meh. So, you know. Jay's not a hugger. I'm glad that you all liked the mud scene. For those of you who don't know, if you have never played this demo before, which by the way, I'm doing a bad job of promoting it, but if you happen to be watching this stream and have not like backed the Kickstarter or don't know what this is, we're on Kickstarter, Lovely Little Thieves on Kickstarter. Please back us and stuff. I wish that I could put something on the page that says that, like on the Twitch page, but I don't know how. So that would have been... Anyway. But yeah, if we went the other way and ran the flashlight up to Randy and Colin, we would have...
Actually, one second. Just a second. You can keep talking.
Oh, I can keep talking, apparently. So, anyway, I guess I'll take more questions. We're currently doing a thing. Our game player is taking a break to do a thing. So, you can link the Kickstarter in the title. I don't know how to do that.
Hang on, no, this will be handy for just. It's okay.
Oh, okay. He's taking care of it. He's a good. He's awesome, and he's figuring this out for us. Okay. Yeah. So if you haven't backed it yet, we are not at full funding, and we need to get there. So, you know, do what you can. Yeah. I guess I'll take more questions if you have them. Ooh, goodness. Can you say if these characters have been in the mansion before? They have never been in the mansion before. That house specifically, they've never been there. So I can tell you that. That's not really a spoiler or anything. Is Danny's hair also an in-joke? No? Why do you ask? Like, what about her hair seems in-jokey? Danny's hair is that way because she is there's in the character designs and the story, there's little tributes to other visual novels that I enjoy or that are similar to this one, but I didn't like want to steal from per se, so I just put little tributes. Danielle's basic character design is heavily changed, but the starting point for Danielle's character design was the character of Junko from Danganronpa. If you've seen Junko, take her, squish her around a little bit, Americanize her a lot, curve her out. Well, she didn't need a whole lot of curving, and then change the hair slightly. And yeah, Junko was the starting point for Danielle's character design. So that's why she looks like that. Also, it should warn you a little bit about Danielle. Junko might actually give you some hints about maybe what Danielle's flaws are. Are there any specific movies you were drawing on from this? Well, I mean, it has traits from a bunch of different horror movies that are the slasher, the supernatural, the, what's the word? When there's not really a weird slasher, it's just a,
there you go.
Bad kids fucking with each other. Oh, okay, awesome. Yay! That works. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Whew. Okay. Okay. Alright.
Sorry for the Trajan Pro.
Yeah, but Danielle is not exactly like Junko. Don't start thinking mass murder or mastermind or the one behind it or whatever. You've seen the one behind it. You've seen Full of Snakes. But on a milder level, think maybe some other things. Much milder. It's not Danganronpa levels of cray. Anyway. So yeah, we're almost halfway through this at this point, I think. Are we like fully halfway through or are we almost halfway through? I think we're like completely halfway through, so at this point. So
Better get ready. I'm still surprised you're gonna do all of Shadow of the Colossus.
I can do it. I can do it. Yes, the gray.
Yeah, there's some anachronistic dialogue in here, by the way.
What's an
Humble brag didn't exist in 1989 or whenever this is supposed to take place.
Yeah, there's some fuck ups. I will not deny that I fucked up in places.
It's not a. I'm just. It's a joke. You're too hard on yourself.
You
raised $15,000 already just on the strength of this thing.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. Anyway. We are going to be doing the PS3 version of Shadow of the Colossus.
Nope, not interested in Jay.
Go fuck yourself, Jay. Ooh. It does seem weird to speedrun Shadow of the Colossus, but I'm like, I'm not like amazing at it, so I'm just gonna do the best that I can. So, anyway, so what was that question? Oh yeah, so the movies are drawn from a lot of different movies and little bits and pieces, and it's mostly just the atmosphere, like the whole sacrificial goat thing, a haunted house, the supernatural, a slasher, not knowing who to trust. It's all, it's all old as dirt. The 10 Little Indians thing where people die off one by one. It's all very 80s horror movie style stuff. The bad guy, full of snakes, has a good deal in common with Nightmare on Elm Street's Freddy, but he's not at all the same character as Freddy. He just expresses himself maybe a little similarly, which is a combination of humor and like very sincere dark threat. So I wanted to combine that. I didn't want him to be totally silly and comical. I didn't want him to be just dark and serious and mean. I wanted to play with both tones. So he has a little bit of a sense of humor about, he has quite a bit of a sense of humor about himself, but he's very serious about what his I guess what his goal is. And he's very bitter too. So he's bitterly humorous, is I think maybe the best way to describe his issues. Bitter and self-flagellant a little, but also very dangerous. Okay, so Randy's stuck in the mud. So if you took the other path, this would be a thing where you and Russell and Danielle catch Colin, who ran ahead, in the mud here. And he, being himself, refuses to apologize for what he did or really admit that the mud is a problem. Like, I got this, you guys back, I've got this. I got this, And I liked that scene a lot. That was a lot of fun to write. So I prefer that path to the other one. To the more lackadaisical one. But, they can't always be, when you got Randy and Jay and Danielle, it's just kind of going to be a bro party up the hill. But if you want the more, like, at each other's throats thing, then that's the Russell and Colin path. Anyway. Alright, so we have now reached the top of the hill. So this area is here for a very important reason. I wanted to emphasize just how hard it would be to find this mansion by accident. In fact, nearly impossible. And there's a reason that the way to the mansion is basically a quick mud bog. There's not really much of any way to cross it, except for this odd path. Have any of you... This isn't really a spoiler. I don't consider this a spoiler, so... Have any of you figured out what the path might be caused by? Since it's given its shape, I guess. If you guess it, then I'll confirm. But whew. All right, so Randy, as you can see, can tell something's wrong. Even if she's not sick, there's something up. You know, he's an insightful guy when it comes to people's hearts. Ah, you guys figured it out. So yeah, the path that they're following is sort of a big semicircle that goes through the quick mud grove, and you know, it's a little maybe hard to keep your balance on, but it's pretty wide. It's a big semicircle. Well, maybe a giant gopher made it, or something else. So people don't know what the Dawn Hur joke is. It's a bad Ben-Hur joke. Y'all don't know what Ben-Hur is? Anyway, Randy's a big dork, and there's not really anything romantic about this at all. Ah, here we are. So this is what the backgrounds will look like. All those are the backgrounds for temporary. They're not the real dealio. Here we go. So this is what the game's gonna look. This is what the mansion's gonna look like in the inside, and eventually, in the full version, the woods will look more in this style as well. And here we go. Guys, maybe this isn't the smartest. Guys, no. No. Why? I mean, I understand they've had a rough day, but come on. Don't go in there. Listen to Russell. You're all stupid. Russell says no, don't go in there. Anyway. So we've gotten a couple more backers. We're now up to 15.6. Wow, you guys. Yay! 15.6. It's so exciting. Slowly making our way up. Yeah. 72, which it will. Okay, so this is the snake that we could have seen earlier, actually. Because it's a branching path, you'll notice that she doesn't say, I saw the snake again, because if this was, like Zach, this is the first time that you've seen this, you know less about it here, but dialogue-wise, it has the same effect. You don't know as much about the creature you're looking at, but, you're probably gonna have the same effect. Ekans. Sorry. So he has nothing to do with the Fading Hearts snake, I swear to God. But after he came back, I knew, like after he was drawn, I knew that that he was totally gonna be compared to the Fading Hearts snake. I was like, the small group of people who know my history with that Fading Hearts game are gonna say they took the snake. It didn't. It's just a coincidence. I swear to God. He's just purple because because Full of Snake's theme color is purple. Also, hey, look at the inside of this mansion. It's awfully purple. You guys should leave. It's really purple in here. Purple's a bad color. Anyhow. J.O., who would you get blind if you played this? I don't know, I've never tried, and I don't think it's possible. Like, you'd have to wipe my memory because some part of what I know would bias me when I'm picking choices. There's just no way out of it. In fact, I have this script is so embedded into my brain, I can't really force myself to forget it. Like, I couldn't try to play it blind if I tried. So, oh well. So I actually think maybe I do know who Zach is gonna end up with, and it's really, really, really funny to me, but we'll see. Oh no! Danielle is in danger! Colin has purple hair, but his theme color is orange. He's not the mastermind. Although I won't say that purple hair doesn't have something to do with... Who do you trust? Who do you trust? I've thought about this entirely too much, obviously. Also, that cockroach is a clip art cockroach that will also be replaced by a drawing by Michelle. That's a clip art roach. Sorry. Clip art roach. I wonder if there's gonna be more cockroaches in the building. I'm sure that's the only one. I'm sure Danielle's never gonna see another cockroach ever again. It's never gonna happen. Sorry, I'll stop dropping it. Cockroach route. Ew, that's gross. How would that even go down? Chocolate thieves. Yep, that was intentional, so. Yay, you're catching my lame little hints. How did how did the roach get in the chocolate bag is the question. Did he just crawl in when she was walking around? How'd he get in there? Snakes and roaches. Nobody likes either of those. Alright, so you got Randy! Yay! You are most compatible with Randy. Congratulations! Aw, he blushed. So some of you, I guess, were guessing that early. You must have seen some of the choices he was making, but... Yeah. Randy is, humor and empathy are big things for Randy, so... It's, doesn't really surprise me. Doesn't surprise me that's who Zach got. So, we're reaching the end here. Since we're reaching the end, I'll prioritize any questions that you guys have. So if you have any big questions left, feel free to ask them. So we're getting close to the end here. Oh, somebody brings up time loop. One of the most important things to remember, or keep in mind about Lovely Little Thieves, is that time travel is impossible. This is actually very important. Time travel is not a thing. There's no time loops, there's no time travel in this story, and there will not ever be in any of the endings. That's very important. So, keep that in mind. More clip art and think gradients that I made in Photoshop. Whoop-de-doop-de-doop. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the Sorry, the screen hurts your eyes. Dawn's eyes are probably hurting too. There's no mention of Schrodinger's cat. Somebody's Schrodinger's cat. Anyway. Trapped in a rainbow fog of emotion. Well, that's kind of what it is. No spoilers, but, I mean, from what we can tell, that's the best way to describe it, I suppose. Apparently Dawn has a history with full of snakes. Well, yeah, I mean, that's certainly not, that's not even foreshadowing or a spoiler to say. That is definitely clear. They have, met. And she doesn't recall that they've met, but he certainly does, and he doesn't seem very happy about the fact that she does not remember this. Anyway. So people asked what movies this was based on. So I said it's mostly broad concepts and there aren't specific references, but there are going to be specific references to different films. They're just not going to be in the story of the mansion now. Part of the story, in between the dying and the surviving in the next 3 days in the mansion, you're also going to discover the story of who lived there in the past. Their story has more of the direct references as far as events and names that you might recognize from 80s horror films. The story of the people who lived in the mansion is going to be a little bit more referential, if you like that sort of thing, so, you know. Zombie Bob, we don't know what Jay knows. We have no idea, so, you know, we'll just have to find that out next time. In the full version of the game. We don't really know what, I mean, when you think about, I think you kind of have to think about what Jay has actually said, what he hasn't said. It's hard to say what Jay knows about anything. He hasn't really said anything, but he does have a reason for acting the way he does in all these circumstances. Why is he so suspicious? I can't say. You just have to find out. He has his reasons. Alright, so here we have the body. The body. Alright, so, shit's getting real. This CG, the body here, and also the thing we're going to see right before the game ends, was made by R.O. Cyanide. Very talented artist. Awesome. Hopefully going to be making more CGs for the game, for the full version of the game, so you're going to see more of her work. But yeah, she made these two pieces. Just because of the way the game is structured, two of the CGs are like back to back near the end. And, you know, wasn't intentional. But hey, like one of them lasts a half hour at the beginning, so you have a half hour CG at the beginning, then sprites, and then these two at the end. So, you know. Yeah, Jay's sweaty. I actually wrote that Jay sweats. I wrote that Jay sweats a lot into the script based on the art that came back. Everybody has sweat drops, but Jay's sweat drops seem like the most intense. So I incorporated that into the story. Just said that he's kind of sweaty. He's a sweaty fella. I think sweating is just his coping mechanism for all of his internalized emotion. Poor guy. People keep taking that flashlight. Yeah, there's 3 flashlights. There won't always be 3 flashlights. There's 3 days and 3 flashlights. I hope we don't lose them and people along with them. Alright, so we chose the route to run to the door. So, we don't see what Colin discovers about the body, but if you want to know what Colin has discovered about the body, what he finds so suspicious about it, you can go through the demo and play it, and find out. Also, you get hints of why Randy reacted the way that he did to it. Not a full picture, but a little bit. And Danielle runs to the kitchen. This is also actually very important. But it won't be until the full version of the game, so I guess it doesn't matter. If you want to remember, Danielle runs to the kitchen for later. For the full version of the game. Right now it's not really important except that she's checking the back door. Man, people ask me questions that are just spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the story. I've given away plenty of hints as it is, but I'm not going to straight up tell you what happens. That would be a bad idea. Story's all they have. Just choices and story. Can't give it away. Somebody says Russell needs to calm the fuck down. Excuse me, if you saw a dead body in the dining room, you would head for the door too. I think I would be just as determined to get the fuck out of there. And if you found out that the door was locked after you saw the dead body, you would lose your shit. Quite frankly. I think it's a perfectly rational reaction to have. Alright, so. Favorite visual novel? I can't answer that question. I work in these now. It's not fair to compare them. It's not candorous. It's such a tiny community. Oh. Something moved. What was it? How did Colin notice the thing? Well, he wasn't standing in the exact same position as Dawn. Like, he's just perceptive. He just saw the number and said, "Oh shit, that's a different number from when we saw what we saw earlier." Colin's just observant. He noticed stuff about the body too, because that's just what he does. He's a smart little squirt. Speaking of observant people, Jay is also observant. He's just not as open with his information about as Colin is.
Yeah, punch him.
Zach, a lot of people don't like Russell. They think he's mean.
Yeah, well, Jay's an asshole.
I kind of agree. Like, I have to consider everybody's feelings, and I know why Jay acts the way he does, and I think Jay is a very good person, but I think all of them are good people. They're good people who just don't always understand each other. But everybody comes down on Russell for being too mean and too violent, and I think if you look at the specific circumstances and when Russell gets angry, they make sense. Like, maybe you wouldn't get angry there, but they're not completely irrational circumstances to be angry in. Definitely not this one. I like how Colin also wants to beat the shit out of Jay, but he's just like, I'll let Russell do it for me. But Colin and his, you know, he has a little bit in common with... I mean, if you look at them, like, on a pentagram, sort of, not a pentagram like the demonic, but, like, a five-pointed star, they kind of have, like, stuff in common with each other that, like, puts them in specific places on a wheel of five, so to speak, and that was intentional. You know, they have things in common with one person more than the other, and but they're all spraddled out to different points of the star. They're extremely different people. And Russell and Jay are, the yin and the yang. So he's lost it. He can't take no more. Can't take no more of people being hard on him for being such an introvert. Uh-oh. Alright, so we've reached the end, basically. Whew. Alright. Well, if you guys had any more questions, I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna breathe and drink my soda. I love that cosplay of Danielle that exists. I love that exists, basically. There is a cosplay of Danielle out there. I reblogged it on the Pango Dango Tumblr, and it's great. And it's awesome, and I love it. Oh, wait. So after this click, don't click anymore. There we go. Duh. Alright, so that was the demo. My throat. It's not the demo of my throat. You know what I mean. Whew! Okay. Wow, so thanks for hanging out, guys. We actually, Zach's such a fast reader that we got through that in 90 minutes. So...
You know, all I do all day is read people's writing.
Right, so you just like... What inspired each character's symbolic emblem? All I will tell you is that they have something to do with their souls. Yeah, I don't think that's too much as well. There's something to do with their souls and maybe what might happen to them and things like that. Anyway,